All right, y'all, so here's an example of solving for acceleration. How do I know what I'm solving for, and how do I figure out how to get it? So having reached the bottom of the first hill going 50 meters per second, it now slows down going up the second hill with acceleration negative 5.5 meters per second squared for 4 seconds, okay? So we've got our roller coaster cart kind of at the bottom here. Okay, we know it's traveling this way with some velocity. Okay, it says 50. No, it's going that way. It gives us an acceleration of negative 5.5, so that's the opposite direction, so it is traveling right, but the acceleration is opposite of that. So then knowns and unknowns, it gives me its first going 50. That tells me V initial. What am I doing at the beginning? I'm going 50 meters per second. Okay, so I got that taken care of. What else? Slows down with an acceleration negative 5.5 meters per second squared. There's that second squared. That's helped to give away that it's acceleration. So A equals negative 5.5 meters per second squared. Okay, it says it does it for 4 seconds. And what's the time after this? Or what is the velocity after this? So after means final. So I'm solving for V final. Okay, so there's my knowns and unknowns here. So now I need to figure out which equation. I mentioned before that if it's velocity, if it's v equals d over t, it has to have displacement, which this one does not. So that's a little bit of a giveaway to me that this is acceleration. But it also says acceleration, which is kind of the most obvious one. But it also talks about two different velocities, an initial and a final. And that's where this delta v comes in. So these are all different ways you can figure out what equation to use. So the one I'm going to use is the acceleration equation. So A is negative 5.5 equals delta v, which I don't have, but we'll talk about, over t, which is 4. So there's several ways to solve this. I think the easiest one is when you look at this and you say, well, I want v final. Well, this is not v final. Delta v is change in velocity. Well, just solve for that first. Just figure out how much the velocity changes by. Okay, and all I have to do for that is the opposite of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. So we get negative 22 for delta v. Okay, so we know what the change in velocity is. Now, that is not what I asked for. I asked for the final velocity. Well, here's the next equation here. So delta v equals v final minus initial. I just found delta v. It's minus 22, so it changes by negative 22 meters per second. That means that it lessens by 22. That gives me final, which I don't know, minus initial, which I do, it's 50. Add 50 to both sides. The opposite of subtracting 50 is to add 50, and you get v final to be 28 meters per second. If you think about it, this number makes sense. It is less than 50 because it was slowing down. It should have a negative acceleration, therefore it should slow down because I was going with a positive velocity. Okay, and it should be a change in velocity of minus 22. It should be 22 in the negative direction from what I was. So I was 50 in the positive direction. I took 22 away in the negative direction. That gives me a new value of 28. So hopefully that helps give you an example of those with velocity. Just make sure, or acceleration, just make sure you're being careful when you set them up and solve them.